Hello, and welcome to Coffee with a Civil Conversation, a show sponsored by ECTV 40. On this show, we like to talk about things that are happening in the news, but in a civil, conversational way. And everyone wears this sweater. It's my week, I'm Kenny. And this week, we have my friend Jorge. So, Jorge, what I wanted to ask you about was this was very relevant in the news a couple months ago, but I think with current E-Town community, it's still applicable. A couple months ago, there was a story on the news about this man in a restaurant in New York City, a lawyer, who was yelling at women for speaking Spanish to customers. And I wanted to ask you, as someone who's grown up bilingual in America, did you have experiences like that at all in your life?
Yeah, I've definitely had experiences similar to that. I know one time, like, I just speaking to my mother, because my mom only really speaks Spanish, and I was only speaking to her in Spanish, obviously, because that's how we communicate. And in like the markets, you kind of see how people kind of get a little uncomfortable, and I know it's like sometimes it's bad to think that, like, that may be the reason that people are getting uncomfortable, but it's a little hard not to assume that at the same time. What I want to say about that specific situation, though, I mean, that was in New York, right?
Yes.
So I know New York is very populated, very diverse, especially, and United States being the country that it is, very globalized, I would say. You have people from all different backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's what makes the United States great. And also, like, the United States doesn't have an official language.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's what situations like this happen. People tend to forget that when that comes up is there's definitely over like 400 practice languages in the United States that are like at least spoken ones, and then over like a bunch of different like signed languages as well. And like Spanish is the second most popular language in the United States. So I think that people tend to forget and like assume that it's the official language, but that's it's something that's been bothering me, because when I was growing up, I lived in like a very like Latin American like dominated community. Like there was there was a very small amount of white people in my town, so like I kind of grew up around that culture, and to like know that that stuff is happening, like especially in New York, where like you said, it's a very populated Latin American like city. It's surprising that it's still happening. So let's take it back home to E-Town, which is like our home currently. How do you see that there are? Do you think that there are like opportunities on campus for Latin American culture? And I asked you this because I know you do the salsa dance with emotion.
Yeah, I guess that's like the first thing on the list that I would say. The reason that I wanted to do a salsa dance on E-Town campus is because of the fact that, you know, first semester when I got here, I realized that the diversity population wasn't as extensive as it could have been. So one thing I love to do is, like you said, dance. So I thought, why not bring something I know how to do and something that represents my culture and kind of implement it into the E-Town community in that way. Another thing that I've seen, I was up till this semester a French minor. Speaking like about languages and stuff, I love to learn languages. So with French, I had a lot of friends from France. I also talk a lot with one of the professors. Her name is Professor Borrello, and my previous teacher for my French class was Professor Nisman Cohen. So I don't know, I just really like to dig deeper into other languages and just to be able to communicate at that level with another person. Because what it comes down to, in my opinion, is whether or not you're willing to learn it. It's not really much about ignorance. It's more about laziness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, I know there's this quote, I forget who it's by, so I'm not going to say who it's by, but it's like, if you speak to a man in a language that he knows, you speak to his mind. But if you speak to a man in his language, you speak to his heart.
The entire time you were saying that, I was thinking of that quote. It's by Nelson Mandela.
Mandela.
Yeah. So I can totally relate to that. I tried to learn a bunch of languages. So like, my original idea is I was going to try to speak Spanish to you, but I'm not going to put you through that because I am very bad at practicing Spanish. But yeah, I think it's learning another language definitely opens up cultures, especially within America where you can experience a lot. So I think that that's important. I like that through the eTown campus you're trying to like bring in the Latin American culture and share that with your friends, and I appreciate it. So yeah, I think that's all the time we have for today.